Alright, hello. This is a demonstration for point asset management and inventory tracking. As you can see here, I've got a couple different devices being displayed on the screen. This is all wireless. These aren't emulators, so this is actually some real devices that I'm going to be working off of that are going to be communicating through wireless, everything in real time. So as you can see, I've got an iPad on the right and an Android phone on the left there. This software is compatible with any Android phone or player or tablet, as well as iOS iPads, iPhones, and iPod Touches. So there's two parts to this. There's the handheld piece, which we're looking at, and that communicates wirelessly with the cloud portion called Control Point. This is where you're going to manage all your data, your counts, your management of any sort of data here, including the export of that data to another system. So if you come in here, you can see we've got some products already loaded in this control point. Is what I'm going to do here is shift back to the devices. And in order to get these devices linked up with control point, we have to do what's called provisioning them. This can be done in a couple different ways. Initially, when you first get your tenant started on control point, there's going to be a user email that is associated with that. Now we can use that user email to log into one of these devices and it will automatically provision it for that control point. Another way to do it, which is nice if you've got a bunch of people you want involved in an account, is through a QR code. And that QR code can be scanned by as many devices as you want within 2 hours, and it's going to provision all of them under that instance of control point. So I'll show you what both of those look like now. Okay, so now we're going to go into the Android device here and log in with the email associated with control point, and it's going to automatically provision this under that user account. So we'll go in here. It's going to ask me for a login. I'm going to go ahead and put in my email address that I used for control point. So that's going to pull the database down with all those items so that the phone will recognize what we're scanning. This is just an added layer of security here where you can provide another access code. You don't have to. You can push the skip button. And now we're in the app and it's associated with control point. So at this point, we could go ahead and start a count from the handheld, or we can do it from control point. I'll go ahead and show you now what provisioning via a QR code looks like. We'll do that with the iPad. So go ahead and come over here to my other desktop, and I'm going to put the iPad here so you guys can see what the actual scan looks like. Alright, so I'm going to come up here to Company, Devices, go ahead and provision a device. It's going to ask for a location. This does support multiple locations. I've only got one set up here. Go ahead and push next, and we'll put an email address in. It's going to send this QR code to the email address and also display it here. At this point, we can scan that QR code with the iPad and instantly provision it to that control point. So we'll go into the app, and it's saying, hey, we don't have a connection to any control point, you need to provision, which we're going to do. Instead of logging in like we did on the phone, we can hit the icon on the top right, and then hit the camera icon, the camera icon. Go ahead and scan that QR code. It's going to pick that up, put the code into the field, push done. It's going to pull that database down, and again, the access code, and we are now ready to count. Again, you can create a count here from the device or from control point. I'll show you what that looks like both ways. Put the iPad back over here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create a count first off from control point. So we'll come in here to physical counts and say new count. So you can name it whatever you like, select the location, you can put a description in here if you'd like. Push next. Here's where we select the workstations we want involved in this count. So I'm going to go ahead and select them all. I had another one in here previous to this demo, so there's 3 actually provisioned. Go ahead and hit next. Here's where we can actually define a scope. So this gives you the ability to define what you want counted, and then when counting, if you scan something outside of that range, it's going to alert you to the fact that it is not within the scope. So let's go ahead and just set a department and say we want to do sporting goods. So here's all the sporting goods items we have in this database. I'll go ahead and select them all, indicating that's what we want to count. Go ahead and save and start it. So it's now created this new count, and that's going to show up on both of the handhelds. While we're on the topic of flags, which are what pop up and indicate that something was out of scope, you can set other sorts of flags. So, for instance, maybe you want something available for damaged items. So, say red, display text is damaged, and it's a damaged item. Save. So that flag will now be available for counters. If they come across a damaged item, they can attach that flag to that item and it will be displayed on control point. We'll come back in here. So you can see device 2, count 3 is showing up on the Android. On the iPad, let's do a little refresh here, and there it is. So at this point, both of these devices are on the same count and are ready to count. Now there's a couple different ways that you can count with these devices. You can use a camera scanner that's built in, or you can use a Bluetooth scanner that is linked up to one of the devices. I've got both here. I'm going to show you what both look like. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and scan with the camera on the Android device here. So we'll just go ahead and push the camera icon. It's going to bring that up. That's going to put a barcode in, and it brings up the soccer ball. So we got 24 of those. And then you can also view the item detail down here. So price, cost, MSRP, all that good stuff. Okay, so we've got 24. Let's count one more. Let's say RC Train. And you see there it's showing an out of scope flag. And that's because it's not within the department we defined. So typically, if it's not in scope, you would say, nope, I'm not going to count these, come back out of it. And it doesn't attach them to the count. Okay, you can also count with Bluetooth scanners. I've got one hooked up to the iPad here. It kind of just helps facilitate some quicker, more efficient scanning. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm also going to show you that it supports serialized items and also new item creation all in one here. So I'm going to scan a barcode that's not in the system right now. Because what that does is it says, hey, I'm not finding anything. Would you like to create a new record? I'm going to click New. And this is asking you what you want to do with this code. You can create an alias for an already existing item, or a secondary lookup for a new item, or just the primary. I'm going to go with the primary. Instead of standard item, I'm going to say it's going to be a serialized. So for new, Bluetooth scanner. Let's say this is a Motorola MC40. Right. So now it's going to ask us for the serial number. And I'm going to go ahead and just scan a couple barcodes here. Put the cursor in there. So there's one, got another one of them. Add that, got one more. Add it. So now we've added 3 items, all serialized. Alright, so let's go back into the count. Another pretty cool feature here is that you can actually take a picture of any of these items and attach it to that item record at the control point level. So let's go ahead and scan a football. Oops, gotta get the cursor in there. Let's see, we have 2 of them. Go ahead and update that. Go back into the football, the top right icon, and then again the top right photo icon. And you can choose a photo already in your gallery, or you can take a new one. Let's go ahead and take a new one. This angry bird here. Use that. Save it. And then that image is now going to be attached to the item record at the control point level. So we come in here to control point, products. Let's go through, just search for it. Football. You can see the angry birds up there, as well as all the item detail. Let's go back into products here. You can also create what are called tags. It's just another way to categorize your items. It's very free-flowing, dynamic, so pretty much any item here we can go into and create a tag. If I could type correctly. And then you see that you're going to start getting this tag cloud showing up. So the more of those tags you have, the bigger it is on this representation of your different tags. And then you can, of course, search by them. So if we say fun, it's going to bring up the items that are tagged as fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that count. So this is the one we just completed. Take a look at it. Okay, obviously something's going on here. We didn't do this one correctly. We must have scanned a barcode into the quantity field. So what you could do at this point is come in here and you could send it back down as a recount. I'm going to do this right now, but what happens is you send this back down, it shows up on the device that counted it, and essentially tells them you need to recount this because it doesn't look right. They'll go ahead and recount it, and then you can merge it with this same count. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and stop the count. It's going to say, are you sure everyone's done counting? Yes, I am. And now you could show zero counts. So it's going to show everything that you didn't count. But usually during an inventory count, you're just going to want to commit any of the items that were actually counted. So we just go ahead and commit without zeros. Yes, we have a note from our mother. And at this point, we can go ahead and export it. And then we're just going to click the different columns that we want here. Go ahead and push export. It's going to create a CSV for us that we can then push into any system we want. And there it is. Everything's time-stamped with all the detail here. And that concludes the demonstration of point.